So what I'm going to kind of go through is introduce myself, kind of go through my approach to planning an AdWords campaign, how to check how it's performing, how to make adjustments as needed, and then kind of how I report back out to the people that are giving us the money. So about me, I did not start as a digital marketing specialist. I actually started in graphic design. I actually got my bachelor's here at Stout, and that kind of evolved into web design, which then kind of evolved into email campaigns and Google Analytics, and then that involved more into kind of the SEO, AdWords, to the point where I went back to school to get my master's in information communication technology, and I really focused most of my classes on Kevin's digital marketing classes at the time, and then also some enterprise classes, so working with CRM initiatives on campus as well. I really love my job. It's always changing. I've had the lucky privilege where just about every job I was at, I would say I want to learn this or I want to start doing this ourselves, and they would say go for it. So this is a job where you're always learning. Your job title means nothing. Your day-to-day is always changing on what you do, which really makes it interesting day-to-day. Let's see here. And AdWords is a valuable skill. I mean, there are definitely people who know AdWords better than I, who that's all they do all day long. But even if you just have that knowledge to review a vendor or ask the right questions and make sure you are spending your money or your client's money wisely, it's a great skill to have, even just on a base level. Another great thing about our job is AdWords is not black and white. There's no correct answer. There are a lot of ways to get the same result. People are going to have their own opinions, so this is just mine. It's not saying this is the correct way, it's just the way I do it. Always question everything. I remember always thinking that, having a keyword that didn't have any volume was bad, like that was hurting. And I looked it up, checked a bunch of sources, and it doesn't hurt anything. So just make sure you're checking up on what you're hearing. Look at multiple articles. It is the internet. You can't trust everything. So be your own advocate. Do your own research. I also highly recommend the Google Partner. I don't know if anyone has signed up for that yet, but they do the certifications for the analytics and for AdWords. It's a little time consuming, but they did just redo their tutorials, and they're pretty decent. They're interactive, fairly informative, so I highly recommend it. This is just another link to those files for you. So it's really tempting to just go right in, but especially for a university where we're very tight on money, we have to plan. We have to have everything laid out, every little contingency planned out before we can get money and get started. So that's a big part of what we do, and AdWords shouldn't be the sole game. This really should be a complement to a bigger marketing plan. Really focus on what you're trying to accomplish and what does success look like, so you can keep your focus going forward. One example I'm going to share kind of throughout this is we had a need to increase fall 2017 enrollment, which is right around the corner, which is really fast. So we had to kind of look at, what programs have summer applications. We pulled out, applications by month per degree to see kind of what trends we could find there. We had to identify what programs could support the growth, because some programs already had wait lists or were already full. So just kind of analyzing what your plan is and making sure that you can succeed before you even start. So do that groundwork. And for us, success is increased enrollment. Pretty straightforward. So again, this should complement your other marketing materials. We were lucky enough to get some last minute money so that we're able to do some general online program marketing. And then we identified HRTM, which is our Hotel Restaurant Tourism Management Program for online, digital marketing technology for online, and our ICT, information and communication technology online programs as having the most potential for growth in the short term. I have the most AdWords activity for HRTM because we started that earlier. So that's what I'm going to share with you because I have a lot more material to work with. Another thing to determine is your time frame. You know, how long do you want this to go? AdWords is not a good short-term plan. It does best over a time period where you can optimize and create that, you know, hopefully at the end, the perfect plan. Budget obviously will influence how long you can have it running and how successful you are. If you don't have enough budget, it's really not a good idea to just put $100 into AdWords. It's not going to really get you anywhere. It's not going to give you enough to even have the benefit of some analytics. So really keep in mind what you need to make it successful. The other way to make AdWords most successful is you need to have Google Analytics set up. Really want to have conversions set up, and I highly recommend setting up values. Fully admit our Google Analytics for our current website is a disaster. So it is not optimized to the best it could be. Don't ask me why it was set up the way it was. But we do what we can, but definitely make sure that's in place because you're going to get the most out of your AdWords when you have that extra data to work off of. Also recommend Campaign URL Builder. This is from Google. It's just an easy way to help track your campaign. And how I use it is I use it for AdWords, but I also use it for our display ads or emailing, so I can track everything all together as a campaign. So if you go into your analytics and you go under, none of the above, acquisitions, and go to campaigns, this is where that data will be all gathered for you. So let's see here. So you can see I changed my naming convention a little here, so that was a mistake on my part. But basically I was labeling everything as BS HRTM 2016. So this includes my AdWords and emails and other media that we're doing. And then with your dimensions, you can file it down to what was the source or what was the medium. So I can get a lot of information and do some pretty easy reporting by doing this first step of being able to track it. So, and there's a link in my presentation to get to there too. The other, sorry. All right, the other important thing is the landing page. So where you're sending everyone who's clicking on your ad. The most successful ad campaigns are going to be to landing pages, specific landing pages. You could maybe have a different landing page for each campaign or even each ad group. Again, we personally don't have as much control as we would like for the web and what we put on it, but we do have fairly decent landing pages for our individual programs. So we have a form, which is really important, so we can track who is showing interest. That's definitely a huge reporting number for us, is who's filled out that application or the information request. And we want to make sure that what we're saying in the AdWords is reflected in the landing page. That helps your quality score and also makes the user know what they're getting and make them happier for where they're landing. You also want to make sure your SEO is optimized. You know, make sure you're using your header tags, make sure it loads well on mobile, and do the basic steps that you would for any web page. But this is an important first step. You've got them to show interest. You want to make sure that you have the best product there. And if you don't have like a request form, maybe it's downloading a white paper, or if it's e-commerce, to purchase something. You just want to make sure you have a clear call to action, because that can be tracked as a conversion and can help in, your reporting and supporting what you're doing with AdWords. So now to AdWords. So there's tons of tools out there for generating keywords. I'm sure you are aware of a lot of them. Google has their keyword planner, which is great. They also have where you can create a draft. For me, I prefer to kind of do old school in Excel file. For me, this allows me to have something that I can show to our clients to get approval. So it's a lot easier to explain. It's a little easier to browse. So backstepping a little bit in my position at marketing, typically, or how we're set up right now, is we really don't have very much budget for like advertising the school at large. So we would not be doing an AdWords campaign just for Stout. What we do is there are pockets of money at the program level. So typically they'll come to us and say, I need to increase enrollment. Or in this example, it was the provost. So they're typically giving us money to then market. So typically it's going to be very specific to a program itself. Rarely is it larger scale than that. So when I'm talking approval is I need the PD to approve it, or whoever's doing the funding. So, and I probably didn't open this file like I should have beforehand. There's an example in that folder that I gave you. And I'll just kind of bring it up here. The reason I like the Excel file is it's easy to do my ad variations all in one place. It's easy to kind of just see everything. I also have formulas where I can check the character counts really easily, so I can know if I'm over or not and make adjustments as needed. So is this big enough for everyone to see? Okay. So I have kind of just like the general, what the daily budget is, what the total is, the locations we target. Typically we stick to the Midwest, just because we don't have the budget to do national, and we have kind of some name recognition in that area. That's where we draw most of our current population. So I did pull the digital marketing plan that I did create. There have been some changes. And so I have it broken down into different ad groups, kind of targeting the name directly, and then some of the skills that someone may search. I fully admit I should have done different ads for all three ad groups, but I kind of kept them the same for all three. The good thing about doing ad variations, and actually I think I have this later, is that Google will show the best performing one. So you're not hurt by doing more. It's actually, you have a better chance of getting a good performing ad the more you try. So feel free to use this as you want as a resource. I kind of cobbled it together from a bunch that I found to make it work for me. Let's see. So that's how I get approval and start my plan. The other thing to keep in mind is when you're setting up your account, it's really important to set it up right the first time, because you really can't go in and change it. So depending on what your position is, you may want multiple Google accounts. So say you're working at an agency and you're going to have different companies. So you're going to have different funding, different locations, things like that. So just make sure that you think of the whole scope when you get started. For us, we have just one account, and then each campaign is essentially a different plan, so a different Excel file as far as how I have it planned out. Basically, you do a new campaign if there's a different budget or a different location or different content. So this is just an example I pulled from Google on how you could do an e-commerce based on television and cameras. Like I said, Google does a good job with giving you tools. The keyword planner, they have a lot of options. You can do where you enter in your landing page and it gives you ideas from that. Frankly, hasn't ever worked for me, and probably has to do with how our website is set up, so hopefully your site's better. For example, just checked it out, HRTM Online, the Hotel Restaurant Management, somehow has early childhood degree showing up. Don't know how that's triggering, very concerning, but we're getting a new website, so probably for another day. They have where you can get the search volume. This is really good for, say, everyone wants to do AdWords, and sometimes you need to give them a little reality check of what that means and what kind of budget they would need. So this is a great way to, say like, well, hey, there's a really high competition in this area. You're looking at $20 a click. Is that really what you want? So that's a good way to just kind of get a really quick and dirty look at what you're looking at.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So if somebody does come to you,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of budget then do you recommend, and for like length of time?
So typically for us, and we're conscious of low budgets, we really won't do anything unless we have $500.
Okay.
Just because it does take time and a process. The more specific we get with our criteria, the less budget you need, but then the less effective you are, and it takes time. You want to make sure you're using the time wisely, especially with the multiple jobs.
And so if I came to you with $500, approximately how long would that last as far as a campaign?
It really depends. So I literally would go to this keyword planner, type it in, and look at the competition, look at the average monthly searches, and have a better idea. So typically I'd say a month to 3 months. Could be longer. It really depends. And again, this is just an estimate based on history too. So
we looked at the recommended cost last week for marketing technology degree. And the recommended cost per click bid is like $56.
Yeah.
So with $500, you're really only talking about
It's going to be very
8
short.
clicks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you could blow through that in no time at all.
No, and that's why I was just curious, because I know that in my prior work in retail, you could forget bidding on anything at Christmas time.
yeah,
Anything that had like Christmas gift giving, whatever, it was a fortune. And
yeah,
we're a little nonprofit, that just,
yeah.
so I was curious to.
We typically keep our keywords very conservative. They're not broad at all. They're really just targeting the name or a very similar name that you'd put in. And actually, I'll show a little bit an example later too. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So it's really rough and dirty. The multiple keywords, really helpful. So for example, we typically do kind of the subject keywords, and then we go to university, college, major, degree, program, school. It's pretty consistent. I do it all the time. So this is a great way to make that quick and easy for me. The other thing that's overlooked is using the search bar. It does autofill for a reason. So see what happens. It can be really informative sometimes. Make sure you clear cache, and if you use incognito in Chrome, that will give you the kind of blank slate that you need. Also use the ad preview and diagnostic in AdWords. Lets you see what the competition's doing. That's always a great resource. And if you want to be nasty, you can do it in the real search bar and punch up their impressions and hurt their click-through rate. But you try to be nice. So use the ad preview. For example, I searched the online digital marketing degree. First thing that came up, 2 master's programs. That's not going to help us, so I would note to put master's in my negative keywords. Another thing is another college abbreviated communication to COMM. Maybe that's an option I should explore for either a keyword or for my ad. So you get some insights by looking at what the competition's doing, and typically they have more money than you, so they probably are doing it pretty decent. Match types. I know we've had this presentation of some sort before, so I won't beat everything to death. One recent update is the exact match is no longer exact. That happened in January, and frankly, it actually helped our click-through rate by 2 to 3%. So it was a good change for us. Some other people, not so much. Really depends. Typically, they recommend that you kind of start off with broad match and narrow it down. Because we use such specific keywords, we typically use broad match, and it's really successful. If you are broader, you might need to get a little more narrower in your match type. It really just depends, again, on your goals and the other factors that you're dealing with. So a little activity. Why did I do this? So this is just a quick example of the keywords that I pulled up for the 2 ad groups that I put together for digital marketing technology. So I focused on digital technology and marketing technology. And you can notice I didn't include UW-Stout in any of these. Anyone have an idea why I didn't do that? Kevin.
Because they're going to find us anyway.
Yes, exactly. Why would I pay for an ad when we're going to come up first? Because that's what's going to come up. There's no other option. I wouldn't pay for that. All right, so why did I include all the variations of a degree in college? Why didn't I just do digital technology or marketing technology?
Most people that are going to come to this or search for that are going to have that included after it. You're not just going to look for marketing technology by itself. So. Exactly.
We don't want to be too broad. We don't want to get people who are looking for digital technology software or digital technology book or things like that. So it is a balance between being too specific or too broad. There's not an exact science. It's just playing with what you have. Writing the right text ad. I fully admit this is probably one of the areas I need to grow with. Not very exciting, I'm sorry to say. Take advantage of the ad variations though. Google will show the best result, so that really, it doesn't hurt you to try again. You can change them anytime. You can stop them. It's really flexible. I think a big thing that people don't understand is once you set it up, it's not set in stone. It's ever evolving. It's ever changing. Like I said, the planning doc, that was great. Spent a lot of time on it. It looks nothing like that now. So, don't get too attached. Relate back to your keywords. That's when you really want to focus on that landing page and making sure there's that close association. That will really help your quality score, which is important. Understand the difference between the final URL and the path URL. They recently changed, like I said, they changed the exact match, and they also changed the text ad to have more characters, which is great, and that's really helped us. And they've changed it where you can only show 2 levels deep of your path. So in some cases, that's not going to directly reflect how you get to your page, depending on how big your website is. For us, we're lucky. We have UW-Stout /programs/ a terrible abbreviation --online. So that's what's going to show when people see it. But the final URL, that's where we use the URL builder. That's why we can put that long, obnoxious URL in there and no one will see it, but it will track what we need. So, not going into everything, obviously. So, some areas to look into yourself that will really help you out is ad extensions. Those are really critical. Google really encourages you and will come up with notifications to do that. That's where you can add a call extension for mobile. You can add additional site links. If you see those ads that have a lot of content, it's because they're using all of the ad extensions they can. Google also prefers those, supposedly. So if the more ad extensions you have, the higher the quality score, the higher Google might place your ad. Audiences is another really exciting thing that I haven't experimented with. This also can tie back into your analytics with like targeting specific demographics. I'm not positive how accurate Google Analytics demographics are. Haven't really looked into it, but there's some good possibilities there. Setting up retargeting or remarketing. I've brushed the surface. Basically, to every campaign, I add, if this user has visited our website, increase the bid by 100%. The people who have visited our website and clicked our ad perform better. We have a much higher click-through rate, CTR. So that's something to look into as well. How am I doing on time? I feel like I'm going crazy.
You've got as much time as you need. We've been here for a half hour.
Okay. All right. Good. And I'm sorry if I'm talking really fast. So like I said, your job is never done. Once you have it set up, you're going to constantly be changing it. Set a schedule for review. Maybe it's every other day, maybe it's once a week. Obviously, more frequently the better. But sometimes if you don't have much money and you don't have that much activity, you can skip some days. Typically, I check it like email. I have it come up on when I open Chrome, it's one of the tabs that pops up right away. Just give it a glance, see if there's anything to be concerned about. I set up basically a report every 2 weeks. So that's when I really do a deep dive. I try to do a deep dive twice a week if I can, but at least a glance every day. I also recommend setting up that dashboard, that's the home screen. I do not have mine set up, so I won't even show you mine. I'm sorry. I should use it, but I don't. Another thing to keep in mind, once this goes live and you tell your client it's all ready to go, tell them not to search for it or to click on it. Seems obvious, but just everyone has that instinct. You can direct them to that ad preview and then they can be happy. So just always remember to do that because you just never know. This is just kind of a little cheat that I include with all my reports, just kind of explaining what the different data means. Like I said, I'm not going to go too deep today since you have had some of this before, but you want to make sure that you're looking at the campaign, the ad group, and the keyword level because all of those can give you insights. So, kind of filter down as needed while you review the different statistics. And we will go in the account and I kind of go through these more too. I was trying to make a good PowerPoint. I was trying to be creative. Tabs of information. Forgive me, I don't know. So all the tabs have good information. These are the ones that I typically check religiously. Obviously, everything's important, and it really depends on what you're looking to do. But checking out the competition to see who else is out there, looking at your search terms, so what people are actually entering when they click your ad, that can give you insights onto, negative keywords that you should probably add, or even new keywords. Looking at locations, you can see where the most activity is, maybe there's a reason, things like that. Dimensions, that has a wealth of information, and I should use that more, but the top 3 are the things I look at all the time. All right, so we will stop this and I will kind of go in here. This way. All right, so this is what my account looks like. Right now we have 5 campaigns running. We have one for DMT. We have one for, I'm trying to choose abbreviations, digital marketing technology. We have one for Gulf Enterprise Management that's running for an online and an on-campus program. And we have Hotel, Restaurant, Tourism Management, which I kind of showed you with examples. And we have Information Communication Technology online. So I usually start the campaign tab. The home, this is that dashboard that you should really set up and take some time to do, which I haven't, so I apologize. So when I'm looking here, I'm basically looking at those stats, the number of clicks, number of impressions, my click-through rate, the cost per click, and the total cost. Always keep in mind that you're looking at the correct time frame. I'm just looking at this latest time period. So let's say I'm going to be doing another report. So this is kind of going to be my deep dive. So right now, things are looking pretty good. ICT just has a pretty low click-through rate. Not liking that. Should probably go in and look at that. Otherwise, click-through rate looking really good. We have 5.9 for HRTM. Coincidentally, that one has been running the longest, and I have been doing the most work with that. So hopefully that's because of my efforts, but you never know. GEM has a 6% click-through rate. Only has 3 clicks though, so not a lot of data. That could easily switch. We're going to go into the HRTM and go a little deeper. So now we're looking at the ad groups. Again, look at the common stats. Restaurant keywords are doing really well over our hotel keywords. So we should probably look deeper into that. Tourism is doing pretty good as well. Again, not too many clicks during this time period, so you take everything with a grain of salt. So some of the details that I would look into is, this is at details, where I go to Auction Insight and go to all. And okay, we're going to widen this out so that we get some more data. I'm just going to go all time. So for HRTM, we have 65% of the impression share. So that's pretty decent. That's about average from what I see. Our next competitor is apus.edu. So maybe I have some more time. I go check out their website, get some ideas for their landing page, see what ad they're doing, just to know what I'm up against. Cornell is the next. So it's just kind of get an idea of what competition is out there. Sometimes there won't be. If it's a really specific program, there won't be any competition, which is great because that means I have a really low cost. So if I go into keywords now, we can get even some more details. So remember how I said there's this low search volume? When I first started, I thought I needed to get rid of those keywords. There's low search volume. I have to get rid of it. It's hurting my numbers. Well, from what I could tell is it didn't hurt anything. It obviously wasn't, performing, but But if someone did search online resident ranger, they would get me, which is a bonus. The fact that they haven't searched for it doesn't mean it's bad to have. It's not going to affect me negatively. For it to be negative is if I had a bunch of impressions and no clicks. But like I said, no one's really searching for it right now, so it's not hurting anything. When I talked about how things get a little messier when you refine and go back in, I was playing with my match types. So this is an example of a different match type. So it says the ad group is paused because this wasn't successful, and I decided to pause that and go with my broad match type. But it does make your reporting a little more clunky because you're getting all that history because that data doesn't go away. What I really like to look at here is I check out my negative keywords. You should always, always, always have negative keywords. And you should always try to be adding to them. Some common ones for university, apparel. A lot of people look for university apparel, so sometimes that will get in. Books, job listings. We're at bachelor's, so definitely getting the master's and different levels that we don't have. People look for salary, for software. So you definitely should have a healthy negative keywords, and you should always add to it. Search terms, this is where you really get the most, I think, the most valuable information. So this is exactly what everyone is clicking into the bar when they hit your ad. So a lot of these are pretty close. Hospitality management, that's a great batch. I think this was probably before I specified university or degree, but that's okay. Let's see here. We have UW-Stout hotel management. Even though I didn't have Stout in my keywords, they still found us. A reason not to include that. Let's see if I can find anything that's kind of worth acting on. You can search by clicks. As you can see, hospitality management has the most clicks directly, but there are tons of variations, so there really isn't an overwhelming, obvious thing that I should add to my keywords. This shows added, which means I have that exact term in my keyword. Diploma of tourism. Wouldn't have thought of the word diploma, but maybe I should add that to my ad terms. PNW hospitality. I know that's abbreviation for competitive school. So it's good we're showing up. Maybe I should check out what they're doing. Describe the nature of hospitality in hotel management. Where do you go to school in the Naperville area for that? Not sure what I'd take from that, but you know.
That's a long tail search.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really amusing, actually, for what you can find. One thing I did notice is I am getting a lot of people searching Chicago. Because I have Chicago in my radius, that's why that's popping up. Maybe there are some negative words I should add in relation to that, but they are clicking, so who knows? All right. Oh. Hotel management courses in Sri Lanka. Okay. All right. Maybe we should advertise study abroad opportunities. I don't know. All right. So that could be amusing for a really long time. Another thing to take a look at, so you also want to look at your ads and see how they're performing. You can tell here, obviously, there's a couple of clear winners. They're showing 37%, 34%. These are barely showing at all. So I could go in this case I did pause them because it obviously wasn't worth having them there. But this kind of shows you what Google is serving up. So you can, like, say if I'm making a new campaign, maybe there's some messaging in here I want to use for another campaign. So just kind of seeing what terminology is getting clicked on. The extensions I mentioned is definitely something you want to explore. I've been using ad extensions for a really long time. They're kind of like just little added bullet points to your ad. There's a pretty wide spread here. I have application information, learn online, military friendly, and transfer to UW-Stout. So say maybe transfer to UW-Stout had the majority of the clicks. Well, maybe I should incorporate that into my messaging instead, so that I can really capitalize on what is obviously interesting them. A good thing to keep in mind is the ad extensions don't always show on all devices. Typically more show on desktop than they do for mobile. So if there is a key message that's really working, you want to make sure you put that in your ad copy. What else? Audiences. This is where I set up that retargeting. So I have all visitors to our website, and I'm able to do this because I'm tagged into my Google Analytics. I increased my bid by 100%, and I've had 39 clicks from visitors on our website, and the CTR is at 5.09%. Last time I checked, that was actually significantly higher. So maybe retargeting isn't as worth it, but who knows? The next step to my analysis would be going into Google Analytics and seeing how they're performing on the web page. So checking bounce rates and engagement. So that could tell me more. Dimensions tab. I have really not mastered this tab. It really has tons of options. You can view day over day. You can view geography. There's a lot here that you should explore. I just haven't really found. I stick to what I've been doing. I should explore it more, but there's tons of options, tons of buttons. You can go to town. That kind of goes over everything I look at for when I go in and check to make changes. So. All right, so say I want to add transfer into my ad, or say I want to try out some new keywords, or in my case, what I've done before is I change the match type to see what performs better. What's great is that Google has an experiment. So essentially what this is you go in and I wanted to show this, I didn't clear this. This is the alerts that I tell you about, where they will urge you to do ad extensions or optimize your campaign. Google support is actually pretty great. In the help, if you have like a question like, how do I check this? It will sometimes just give you the automation and tell you where to click exactly. I've also done their chat support before, super helpful. Customer service is really great. They want your money, so they're going to support you as much as they can to get you to use them. So this has an ongoing create 2 ad groups from existing keywords. I've reviewed it. I don't want to do it. It still pops up every day, despite dismissing it. So those alerts are useful most of the time. All right, so we're going to go back to the campaign level here. There we go. Showing up. All right, so I'm going to go through and create an experiment real quick just to show you what it is. So basically it's like creating a draft. So if you want to do your planning in AdWords, this is where you would start before committing any money. So you would go to drafts, create new, and this shows you, they take your original file, make a draft of it, and then you can run it as an experiment. So once I'm in the draft, any changes I make get saved to the draft. So let's say I'm going to go to my ads. I want to add transfer. So maybe instead of request information, our be transfer friendly. And our save. I can turn off ads that maybe aren't doing well. I can go into my keywords, add some keywords, added some keywords, delete keywords. Whatever I do, it's in the draft. It doesn't affect what's going on. So once I'm done with the draft and say I want to implement it, I would go to apply. I'm not doing this because I don't think we'll do anything, but I don't want to risk it. So once you hit apply, it will come up with a pop-up of apply to your existing campaign or create an experiment. So an experiment will be on that left-hand side for you, all experiments. And basically, when it creates an experiment, it will say, how do you want to split it up? So I split up as 50-50, which meant I spent half of my budget on my current campaign that is working okay, and then I put the other half of my budget on this new experiment, and then I let it run. The longer it runs, the more data you have. In this experiment, when I changed to the broad match keywords, I had a click-through rate that was about 10% on my experiment, and I was running about 5 on my normal. So I'm like, hey, that worked. I'm going to do it. So then when you go into it, when you bring it up, this is already applied, but it will give you the option to apply it to your campaign, and everything switches over. The only downside, like I said, is your reporting is a little messy then, because you have multiple keywords. If you change them, you have your old ones and your new ones. You have your old ads, your new ads. So just keep in mind that's what you're looking at, and that's why it's showing up like that. But really love experiments. Didn't have it when I first started, and really nice. So we are winding down, I promise. All right, so you have a great campaign. No one sees it but you. You want to share it. So there's multiple options. You can give a client read access to the account, so they can't change anything, but they can look at it. The only problem with that, and again, maybe I should have set up my campaign differently, is so say Kevin wants to see how his digital marketing technology campaign is going. Their permissions is such that he could see how all the other campaigns are going. Obviously, I don't care in Kevin's case, but say if you were looking at different companies and you were running them on one account, that would be a concern. You don't want to give them permission, so just keep that in mind for permission base. You can set up reports, which is also handy. I can't get them to look quite as pretty as I want. Granted, I'm pickier than most, but you can save them, which is great. So I have reports for the different campaigns I'm running. I also have a nice report, campaign invoicing, that I can give my campaign budgeter in our office, and she knows what to bill back to the different departments. So it's really easy, like for HRTM. You have to change the time frame. But this is the values I want to export, and it's saved, and I don't really have to do anything unless I want to change it. I believe there's also a way to send out these reports to other people. So if you like how it looks and they understand it, that's great. Unfortunately, don't have AdWords experts looking at these reports. So typically they require some further explanation. So I did share with you one of my sample reports that I created for the HRTM, which I will bring up. Sorry, it's been a really long day. Let's see here. It's the Excel file. This CSV file is the example you get from AdWords, so not quite as pretty. So basically, I have kind of like a summary tab, which I'm pretty sure is all they really look at. But, yeah. An added addition for kind of when we look back to big picture of how AdWords is our plan. Remember, for success to me would be at an enrollment. So factors in that are applications and generating leads. So I also include that in my report. Our reporting isn't the best, so all I can say is that we have had this many form submissions, this many applicants, and this many matriculates or students in a time period that it was running. I can't attribute it directly to AdWords because our website's terrible. I already told you this. But you should be able to do that if you set it up correctly and get Google Analytics running. And if you include the CRM, it's beautiful. Like, you can say exactly how many people you got in the door. Working on that future plan. So basically, I split out the AdWords groups and just do totals for all these stats. I don't give them that much more detail. I kind of do a little summary. A lot of the time, they don't understand what, is 2.34% a good number. So if there's that one PowerPoint slide, actually I think here. So this kind of goes back into even what you're doing with your reports is how to describe these results. So I kind of created this little benchmark based on kind of our experience. You want to be in the top 3 ad positions. Usually our goal is kind of a 2-page per session is showing good engagement. A bounce rate below 80% is wonderful. So give them some context. Tell them why these numbers matter. Even if they're bad, tell them why that is. This is the more descriptive file that I doubt they look at. But basically, I'm just kind of showing what keywords are performing the best and how the AdWords ad groups are performing as well. And like I said, I try to do this every 2 weeks. Doesn't always happen. And sometimes if there's not enough activity, it's not worth the time to do it that often. You really just kind of have to do what works with you. So yeah, in this context, our bounce rate is 50%, which is really great. We've been having some really, really low bounce rates, so that's been wonderful. So let's see here. And knowing Excel is a huge advantage. Did not know Excel very well, and now I do. The more you know it, the better you can do it. I'm sure you could improve on my report drastically too. Excel is wonderful if you know it. So yeah, that's what I do. Like I said, this is just a really tiny part of my job actually. So there's definitely room for improvement. But if you're just looking to add this as, one more skill in your jack of all trades job, this is really the depth you would need to go about it. And obviously your industry what you're selling, who you're working with. I mean, you're going to make adjustments. This isn't, you can take what I did and do it yourself. Just takes time, refine over time. I know I was scared to take other people's money and be responsible for it and have statistics that would tell them how I was doing. But you don't know until you try, and the beauty is it's not set in stone. You can always change it. And there's tons of resources out there, between yourselves, colleagues, groups, blogs. It's not that difficult, I guess. I know it is, but you can make it work if you wanted to. Any questions? I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry. Nothing. I know it's 4:30, so.
I think one of the important things, you said this is a small part of my job. But when you go out, that's the thing, where we're at as, let's just say, an industry, and I don't mean just education, I mean marketing technology. That is sort of where most people do this. It's like you've got all this stuff, you got to figure it all out, and you got to figure out how to do it pretty much on your own, because it's all brand new and it's all changing every day. And so, she's used different resources, people, talk to the Thomson Reuters people, but everybody who's doing this, for the most part, has to learn it on the job. So you guys having had experience is an advantage, but when you get out there, you're going to find that you know just a very small sliver about what there is to know, and you're not going to have depth in any of it, but you're going to have more depth than most of the people that are already out there that you're competing against. So it's
one thing I found interesting, and I think it was clever, is I was looking through the certification for Google AdWords, and none of it was actually in the application itself, because they always do updates. The interface is always changing. It was all big concept. So if you understand the general concept, the technical details are out there for you to find. So
I have to laugh. Julia went through the SEO course, and she did, her analysis was on one of the programs in Stout's website. And what she learned, from my standpoint, she was the first one over there in marketing that understood just how sucky the UW-Stout site was and why. Because we had said, this is not, this isn't working, this isn't working. But she was able to go through this same class and see why it was lousy. Because you can't do a header level 1 with the program name.
Yeah.
And that increases your quality score in your AdWords.
Yeah.
So that basically it doubles or triples the cost that you pay for an ad by not being able to have an H1 that you can customize to even have the name of the program.
Yeah.
So it's just.
It's kind of ironic because I didn't recommend doing AdWords when I did. I was like, nope, web pages is not efficient. But
Now you are.
now we are. We're doing what we can. I'm fingers crossed. I'm really hoping that we can use some of our marketing budget next year to market the new website and see how AdWords performs on a well-defined website. So one other plug out there is, because this is just one of my jobs and I have a lot, probably looking for some summer help. It'd have to be on campus is the only restriction. Really just looking to see if there's any interest. Not sure exactly what the hours would be. It'd be pretty flexible, but we would have to overlap with business hours during the day on campus. So if you're all interested, shoot me an email. And based on interest and skills, we can see what we could maybe set up. And it would be paid, not terribly well, unfortunately. But there's that. And if you guys have questions afterwards, feel free to email me. I'm here as a resource now, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.